With that, viewers, we are also now shifting focus to a major operation and a major action that has been taken on by our agencies. This is about a terror plot that has been busted in the country. We told you how NIA arrested 6 Ukrainian nationals and 1 American on charges of conspiracy to carry out terrorist activities against India. And within 24 hours itself, we have also unearthed details which no other channel has. Now, the American mercenary, that is Matthew Aaron, was has a background. And what is this background described as? This background is described as diverse, from being a soldier to a war correspondent to the founder of Sons of Liberty Council. This is a man who's been part of several anti-regime missions. This has happened across the world. He's been part of such operations. And Times Now has accessed details of Aaron Van's motive. Now, let's tell you about these details. What was his mission? Let's explain that graphically. His mission was to overthrow authoritarian regimes. Another part of his mission was that there are forces that are fighting for freedom against oppression. And in the third mission, he's also provided military training and also conduct covert ops. This is what he was planning. Mission, and the part 4 of his mission was to the leaders of Venezuela, where he said, we are coming for you. In another mission, he also said that to Burma and Iran, we are also coming for you. Another aspect is his message that he sent out. He said, Russia cannot protect you anymore. Another part of his mission was also that you will share the fate of Assad in Syria. Now, this was a statement that has been released by Matthew Aaron Van Dyke, and we've accessed those details. But now, when it comes to regime change plots in Venezuela, to military training in Ukraine, this American mercenaries trail is absolutely explosive. And Times Now is exposing the antecedents of Matthew Van Dyke and his covert global networks. My colleague Bhavtosh is also with us on this broadcast as we get you more details. But let's also once again describe what was this operation about. Now, there is an operation, he led an operation in Venezuela. This operation was called Operation Aurora. In the year 2019, he worked to fight against Maduro's regime, and he fought for regime change against Maduro. Then Ukraine provided military training to Ukraine Army, provided tech support, and also Ukraine's military tested numerous battle tech prototypes. Now we have more details that are now coming in as we get you more on the story. There are Russian intelligence agencies who've been tracking Ukrainian freelancers, as they are calling them, who had passed input regarding the suspicious movement of 14 Ukrainians who had arrived in Guwahati. In the latest, we are telling our viewers about how sources are saying that there are Russian intelligence agencies who've been tracking the movement of Ukrainian freelancers and how they had passed input regarding the suspicious movement of 14 Ukrainians who had arrived in Guwahati. This information was shared with Indian counterparts. So yes, this is a global operation where there has been intelligence sharing at a global level, and there are also intelligence agencies who have been tracking this particular group on getting this kind of intel, which includes one US national whom we told you about, the mercenary, that is Matthew Van Dyke, for the past 3 months. Bhavtosh, we are picking up extremely crucial details of this operation and this success for our agencies. Now the focus is on what the real agenda or the motive was. Today we have details of the Ukrainians who've been held, plus the US mercenary. How did the intel sharing help our agencies? Because now we have information, sources are telling us that Russian intelligence also passed on some information which was then tracked by our agencies.
Yes, Sagarika, in fact, it's a very brilliant coordination between our central agencies and also foreign agencies who were in fact tracking the movement of Ukrainian. Remember, so far what NIA has done is issue a statement in which they have said that they won't be sharing much as far as this case is concerned because investigation is at a very initial stage. But what we have gathered so far from sources is that it was Russian agencies which have been tracking the movement of these Ukrainians. Remember, Ukraine has in fact been selling itself, or at least the president himself has said that they have specialization in drone and that technology is available to them, and they can in fact sell the wares to anyone who is interested in buying from them. Now, Ukraine soldiers, or at least freelancers, are under the radar of Russian agencies, and various security analysts have, for past 2 or 3 days, has said that Russian agencies for at least 2 to 3 months have been tracking these six individuals who have been arrested. Even in the court documents that Times Now has accessed, there are at least 14 Ukrainians who arrived in India on tourist visa. They came to Guwahati. From Guwahati, they went to Mizoram. In fact, went to the places which they should not have gone. They did not have the permit. And then from there, they went to Myanmar. And in Myanmar, they in fact gave training to the ethnic armed groups. And these ethnic armed groups have links with the various terror outfits who are active in Northeast. Now, what happened next was that once they came back, at least 6 of them, when they came back, they were immediately taken under detention by the Bureau of Immigration, and then they were questioned by the agencies and subsequently arrested by the NIA. The Russian agencies on their part have said that these Ukrainian were in fact in direct touch with various outfits who are in fact were in fact carrying out rebel operations against the present regime in Myanmar, and that's how this entire operation was carried out. So far, Indian government has not officially issued any statement, be it MEA or for that matter NIA. But court documents do mention there was a larger transnational terror plot that was being carried out by Ukraine as well as by the US national who has been arrested.
All right. We also have details that the US national who's been arrested, who was also had an active presence digitally. He was publicizing his work. Tell us more about that aspect of the probe, Bhavtosh.
So, Sagarika, as far as Matthew Van Dyke is concerned, if we go by his digital presence, he has an X account, he also has a website, as well as a YouTube channel. He's someone who, in fact, has a degree or a graduation in political science. And then subsequently, according to his claims, these are his claims that between 2007 and 10, he, like a Che Guevara, was on a motorcycle, drove through entire North Africa, and then he, in fact, claimed that he participated in regime change in Libya, and then he fought against ISIS in Iraq between 2011 and 2013. Then virtually his presence is not there on social media, and then he claimed, now these are all his claims, that between 2015 and 2020, he was providing freelance missions to various army operations for US, and then between 2020 and 2022, he also in fact publicized various operations that he carried out. Between 2021 and 2023, he fought against Russia for Ukraine, and then he provided freelance operation. They are very similar to various US nationals who on a contract basis carry out these kinds of operations. And these individuals are also, in fact, loaned by CIA and other agencies by US. US on its part have admitted that he is a US national, but has refrained to say anything else. But if we go by his various profiles, whether it's on the website or for that matter on the Wikipedia page, he is in fact very active, and also his links with the US agencies, whether it's Army or for that matter various external intelligence agencies which are based in US.
But how did he enter India? What was that trail about? Who helped him in India? We are tracking all those details. Thank you so much, Bhavtosh, for getting us all those details. We'll keep you ahead, as this is a story broken here on Times Now. But right now, we're going to tell you about how they first arrived in Guwahati and then subsequently moved to Mizoram. And without a restricted area permit or protected area permit, the foreign nationals then traveled to several sensitive areas and then sneaked into Myanmar. What happened in Myanmar? In Myanmar, they trained ethnic armed groups in the use of drones. And on their return, the 6 Ukrainians and also the 1 US national in this connection, they've been arrested. And right now, the probe is revealing all those details. So first up, we're telling you about how they entered Guwahati, which was the entry point in India. They entered via a tourist visa. Then it was Mizoram, where they entered without documentation. Then it was Myanmar, where they illegally crossed international border and allegedly contacted anti-India groups. They trained ethnic groups in drone warfare, after which they were arrested. And now it's time for us to slip into a short commercial break. But before we take a break, let's look at how